everyone. My name is Brenna. Well, no, that's not how I even say it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. No, I did it where I started talking loudly again. I'm not going to do that. Why do I sound like a robot? Tell me why, Brendan. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Backstage with Brenna. My name is Brenna, and we are, once again, still in quarantine. Today, I'm here interviewing my next guest on our Young Alumni series. Give it up for Zoë Sonnenberg.
Hello.
Yay! Hi, Zoë. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me virtually.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you through a screen.
So would you care to tell the camera what your major minor was when you were at Stanford and what year you graduated?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2018. I was an English major with a concentration in creative writing, and I was a TAPS minor.
I'm so excited to be talking to you and for the audience to get to hear a little bit about your journey since graduating. So what did you do after graduation? Like, what were the next steps?
Yeah, so I had applied throughout senior year to a lot of regional theaters have fellowship programs, and I was looking to work in different like literary and artistic departments. I applied to a ton. At the outset, I got into only one, which is at Seattle Repertory Theater, and I was prepared to go to Seattle Repertory Theater, and that was going to start in the fall, and I was like really ready. And I got the summer before, I had applied to an internship at Second Stage that I hadn't gotten. I was a finalist and I did not get that internship. And the following spring, I had sort of done the thing that people tell you to do where you keep in touch with people that you've talked to and you network, whatever that means. And I had sort of kept in touch with that literary manager, and he messaged me and was like, hey, like, do you have plans for the summer yet? And I was like, I do not. And he was like, well, we'd love to offer you this spot for this summer if you'd like to come up. Truly, they were like, when can you start? And I was like, well, here's my graduation date. And they were like, great, so you'll start the Friday after that. And I was like, oh, okay. And so that lasted through the summer. And it was really great. I got to like read a ton of plays. I was doing some like real dramaturgy for some projects that they were doing. About midway through the summer, I started getting some messages from Seattle Repertory Theater like, hey, we want to push your start date back. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, I'm flexible. Maybe I'll take my month off in September instead of in June, whatever. And then they were like, actually, we think we'd like you to start in January. So I called them and I was like, can I ask why? And it turned out that their literary manager at the time was leaving, and they were totally restructuring their artistic department. And they were like, we don't want to have you come and be a fellow without anyone to lead your fellowship and without someone for you to learn from. I was like, okay, we'll see. And I started looking for more placements in New York.
Yeah.
Which was very scary at the time. And I was like, well, this hadn't been, you know, we want to plan things and we are ambitious students and we go to Stanford and we're like, yes, we know how to plan things and make things organized. And very quickly, that was not the case for me. And I was like, all right, we're going to figure out how to make this happen. While I was doing that, I was doing a lot of part-time things because internships at theaters are not all that lucrative. So I was working, what were all of the jobs that I had? I tutored, I was ushering for a theater, for one of Second Stage's theaters for a while. I was doing freelance dramaturgy, which I still do. The network of dramaturgy is very small. And so when people are very kind, and when I've, you know, been able to send cold emails asking to get coffee with people, they have on the whole been very warm to that and very welcoming. And some of those have resulted in readerships as well. So I read for, I think, 4 or 5 programs in New York now. I ended up finding and getting the job that I have now, which is doing public relations. I'm like a publicist for an arts and entertainment firm. It's an indie firm called Saxon Company, and we work with, I would say, about 2/3 like music industry clients, and then 1/3 like performing arts more broadly. And so I'm doing that now alongside a lot of freelance dramaturgy.
Do you think you could go a little bit into what like a day's work looks like when you're working the job that you have now?
A lot of what I will do is just like general pitching, which is basically writing, hey, there's an album coming out, there's a dance show coming up, here's this performance, concert series, whatever. And we'll find sort of all of the applicable journalists. Basically, a publicist is the conduit between an artist and their team and the journalists. And we're trying to say, like, here's a project that's happening, here's who they are and why you should write about it. So that's like what I'm doing most of my day to day, is sort of bridging that gap between them.
Did you have much experience or knowledge of the field of publicity, of like how to write a press release, of like what a pitch was? Like, are those things you had any experience with before? Did you get to learn those through the work?
I learned them all on the job.
Okay.
I ended up finding this job actually through, I've joined a choir in New York, which has been a really lovely community for me and a lovely like artistic outlet. And through our choir like list serve, somebody posted this job listing and was like, hey, a friend of mine is like looking for an entry level job about like arts and music and writing. And I was like, hello, like those are things that I do and I love. And so I applied to that job and ended up getting it through that. But I knew very little. I mean, there was an aspect to which I think there is a dramaturgical bent to this work, given there was a way to make that argument, which is to say that ultimately when you're working on a PR campaign, what you're trying to do is translate an artist's vision for an audience who is not inside of that artist's head. And that is a very dramaturgical skill. And that is certainly something that I did a lot at Stanford, both within my academics and in my extracurriculars. Through college, I was very grateful upon graduating to realize how many skills I feel like I really did have from college that were like real world skills. On the other hand, in any given job, like there's the way that it works there and you just have to learn it then. And I think potentially one of the greatest skills I got from Stanford was being able to learn things quickly, and like learning how to learn, because that's the kind of thing that really is valuable in a grown-up world job. Is there's no job you're going to enter and actually know how to do the day you start.
So, if you could give any advice to your former college self, what would it be?
You know more than you think you do. Not because I sort of said this already, but not because facts or material, but ways of doing things that are going to serve you really well. Particularly, you know how to time manage, which is not a skill. That is a skill that Stanford hammers into you. Like you really have to know how to time manage, and people do not know how to time manage. You also know how to do things quickly. Stanford really makes you learn how to do things quickly. People do not know how to do things quickly. And I think also openly ask questions. Like it is okay to say, I don't know how to do this, please show me. I think a lot of us have a lot of discomfort in that, myself included sometimes, but I think it is one of the most important things.
Zoe, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. It has been so wonderful to reconnect and to learn from you as always. I miss you and I love you. And
I love you too.
For everyone else watching, tune in next time to #GetPeerAdvised.